Hey guys, it's Gabika. If it's your first time on this channel and you clicked on this video hoping to get angry, then I apologize, because you probably won't. Gotta play that clickbait game. If you're new to this channel, then hi, welcome, good to see you here. Hope you will watch till the end. And if you read webtoons, maybe you bumped into my work. It's called Bite Me. And it's actually finished, so go ahead and give it a read. And of course, warm welcome to anyone who already knows me and decided to hop on my YouTube channel. Without further ado, let's get to the nitty gritty, spicy topic that we have today. The question is using 3D assets in a 2D digital space cheating? And the short answer is hell to the no. Just like any other asset, over-reliance on them can lead to many negative things, but using them mindfully can be of a great help. And I will be covering both pros and cons. As you can see in the background right now, I'm using 3D models with my comic all the time. In fact, I've been using them for so long that I skipped the sketching process entirely. And that doesn't mean I stopped sketching altogether. Making comics my sketch just became very clean, almost line art like, so basically I ended up doing the same thing twice. I still do sketch some smaller, simpler panels or my illustrations. But one thing that the love of my life taught me is with comics, it's about the entire page, not necessarily the panels alone. Gabika from the future here. My dumbass brain forgot the line from the script. So what I meant was, comics is just one of these mediums where you can't really treat each panel like a separate illustration. Therefore, you can't dedicate it enough time or as much time as you would with illustration. So this is what I meant when mentioning the love of my life told me that it's about a whole page and not a single panel. So I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's get back to the video. And while there are comics who have each panel super detailed, not everyone has the time and energy to do so. Not everyone can be Mura Kentaro. Because of this whole war that used to be going on social media, how you shouldn't use reference, models, or anything except your imagination, I just felt ashamed of using them, as if it's something abnormal for artists to use. I'm questioning whether or not people who say those things are artists themselves. Because in the end, will tracing over 3D dummies teach you how to do line art, coloring, do hair, different faces, or even character design? I certainly didn't learn to do that tracing 3D models. I didn't even have 3D models when I started drawing. However, what tracing over models will help you learn is perspective, foreshortening, proportions, and even consistency. Instead of looking for the perfect reference photo or taking pictures yourself, you set up a model and suddenly your brain has an oh moment because you were sweating over that pose for an hour now and it never looked right. Currently, my fiance is modeling a whole ass city for our project, so setting up the stage is much easier. The surroundings look consistent and I'm never lost which part of the street I'm on. It goes the same for characters' physique or weapons or items they're carrying. It's better to have the item in 3D space to see different angles than trying to imagine it. Visual novels is a difficult, time consuming media, especially if you're both the artist and a writer, and using help to get the job done faster is not cheating or being lazy. Like I mentioned before, tracing over a 3D doll is not going to magically create the entire picture. I still had to learn anatomy, perspective, line art, shading, and coloring. There's plenty of work I did and still do not using models at all. I don't want to depend on them all the time. To me, it's a time saver and a great learning tool. If you still think that people are just lazy and should take the time to perfect their craft, everyone has their own learning curve and anyone can be a beginner at any age. Some may be faster, some may be slower, and our time on this world is very limited. I have a huge respect for people who do not need the help that I have or simply didn't have it and still managed to master their craft. And before you say that comic pros don't do that, here's a list of our senpai overlords who do trace over models. And if you think it's unfair for me to compare indie artists with pros dealing with insanely tight deadlines, what are you talking about? I want to finish my project before I kick the bucket. If comic pros have the entire team dedicated to one project and they still cutting corners, imagine what a single person has to do to finish something in their lifetime. Not to mention majority of us, I don't, but majority of us have day jobs. So we better blast through it. And no, by fast I don't mean sacrificing the quality of your work. Fast doesn't have to equal shitty. Now that I praised 3D models, you got to be extremely careful while using them, especially if you're a beginner. It's easy to get on autopilot and hinder your progress. Clip Studio models can be extremely wonky at times, and because tracing over them trains your muscle memory, watch yourself to not duplicate the model's mistakes. Like, just what the fuck? Like I said, they can be a great learning tool, but I wouldn't recommend using them all the time for everything. I use Pinterest to get the references I need, and my favorite clothing store provides me with some nice poses and some hot fabric folds. Ultimately, there is no right or wrong way to make art, except, well, stealing others people's work, but I think that one is obvious. I wish for the day all digital and traditional artists can just shake their hands in unison and stop arguing which method is the superior one. Both medium have a lot in common, and both require a lot of time and dedication to master. I started as a traditional artist. I think many of us have, and I still have a stash of traditional supplies if I feel like doodling. So, don't be an ass. Art is hard, and we are all in this together. I must say, recording this video still made me feel icky, like I'm a filthy, lazy cheater. And I probably won't convince people to not be an ass, but maybe I will encourage others to defend their right to use models and references and whatever they need. In fact, I probably offended a lot of people, especially with the part like, if you say that 3D models are bad, then you're not a real artist. No, that's not what I meant. I really didn't mean that. But if you are an artist and you are against using 3D models, then no one's gonna force you to use them. And like, come on, you know that 3D models won't teach you certain things. It's not a magic wand. It all boils down to how you use the materials and how much you're willing to learn new things. I, for example, had a huge problem with drawing braids. I don't know, for some reason I just couldn't draw braids. So, from like Clip Studio assets, I downloaded a braid material and I was just using the material, but then I was drawing over that material. So I was tracing over it so many times that I finally learned how to do braids, and now I can just do it on my own. Okay, I think I have rambled for long enough now, so I'm gonna see myself out and let me know what do you think about those things, and thank you for watching. See you some other time. Bye. So setting up the stage is snake. So setting up a the